What does the American dream mean to you?
For me, it's passing it on, because I think as I came here, other immigrants passed it on to me and kind of inspired me.
Tariq Farid, what a pleasure to meet you.
Jose, it's really nice to be here. It's an honor.
Tariq, for so many of us, edible arrangements have been a part of our lives at one time or another. And we don't often kind of think, well, how did this come about? How does edible arrangements start?
I didn't know much about flower business when I opened my flower shop. Where do I buy the flowers? As you go around and people see you're working hard, they'll cut you a break. Like, oh, kid, you work hard. Come, the first wholesaler that I had, I froze the flowers when I opened my first business because I didn't know what temperature a cooler should be set at. Right. And I went back to, and I could only buy cash. I didn't have any more money. I went back to the wholesaler and he gave me credit. He said, no problem, take whatever you need. I think you're good for it. And I walked out kind of like almost with tears in my eyes thinking, I'm good for it. You don't even know me. How? So there was something there that this person saw in me. And if you make the effort, you will meet those angels.
And then in 1999, you think, what about edible flowers, essentially? Where does that come from?
With the flower business, I started an IT business that was putting POS systems in flower shops when there was no POS systems. In the journey, I saw this fruit bouquet business and, we wanted to diversify within the flower shop. I saw a lot of potential in it right from the beginning. So we took a small section of our flower shop, about 400 square feet, 500 square feet. And the same journey, wrote a business plan, thought I could get a loan. But as soon as I put the idea in front of the people, I was rejected for the loan. So we opened up a tiny little shop on the side of our store, sent out brochures, made the brochures ourselves, bootstrapped the whole thing, sent out some brochures to our customers, and people just, the phone started ringing off the hook. Like, when can I order one? And so the first Easter, we started in Easter of 99. And the first Easter, we had 28 orders, and it took us all day to make them because we had no tools at that time. We used to cut everything by hand. So right on the first day was a success. We were sitting there, we were expecting a few orders and we got 28. And after that, it just, it just blossomed.
And then from that little 500 square foot area in your flower shop where you're cutting fruits by hand to make them look like flowers to over 1,000 franchises around the world.
I always dreamed big. The first, it was kind of accidental. A customer showed up and says, I live in Boston. Can I buy a franchise? And one thing I always tell entrepreneurs is that when that opportunity comes, God sometimes sends you a gift, fake it until you make it. As soon as you hear that, don't say, oh, I don't know what that is. I turned around and I said, wow, that sounds great. Let's do it. And we ended up building our first store in 2001 in Boston. And from there, from somebody in Boston visiting Boston was visiting from Atlanta, saw our shop. And then next thing we know, we went to Atlanta.
And I wanted to take you back, Tariq, to when you were 11 years old. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that journey.
One day, my father says we're all going to be going to the States, and we 5 brothers, 1 sister, the whole family kind of loaded up on a plane in Pakistan with literally nothing. My father was a machinist here and worked at Burger King and McDonald's and had all these part-time jobs. And we showed up at our uncle's house on August 14, 1981. What I remember, the most magical thing of that was what my mother said as we arrived here. She said, my life starts today. And, there's a little bit of a history there. My great-grandfather had come to the U.S. as a laborer. He was recruited in India. He was a farmer. He was recruited, and he came to U.S., worked in California in the fields, and made about $2,000 by working a year. And with that, changed everybody's life back in India. And my mother felt that was the completion of a journey. And she said, for me, life starts today. And I remember that. And it truly started that day.
And Tariq, at 11 years old, your father goes to work 2 and 3 jobs, right? And you see at an early age the incredible tool that is working for yourself.
Yeah. I didn't know it was called entrepreneurship. All I saw was owning it. My father always wanted to own a business because he saw many others who had owned a business. And I, at about 12, started delivering newspapers. And in my paper route, there was a gentleman who owned a flower shop named Charlie Fariselli, and just stopped by. I asked him one day, do you have a job? I think it was a very cold day in December. And in that great American spirit, he felt bad. And he said, you know what, kid, come on down and you could kind of water some plants, get out of the cold. And that changed everything for me. Being able to be under somebody's shadow. My mother used to always say, knowledge is like water. It flows downhill. Lower yourself in front of it. So, when you see somebody knowledgeable, learn from them. And so I think for me, that part was the defining moment for the rest of my life.
And then at 17, then there's another step in your journey that changes.
Yes. My father kept looking for businesses. By then, I had gotten a job at McDonald's. And one day my father comes and says, hey, there's a flower shop for sale for $6,000. And next day we show up and it was actually going out of business and they were actually selling their equipment. My father, said, we don't have the money. So we approached his boss and they gave a 17-year-old a $6,000 loan. Now, this is the American spirit that we talk about. My father's boss, who's probably making maybe $12, $13 an hour, gives me a $6,000 to $7,000 loan to go open a flower shop and doesn't even blink an eye. Says, oh, why? Because he saw that this kid works hard. And, he gives me the loan and within a year I pay him back, so we were able to buy a business. In the beginning, doing $70 a day in sales, and I thought I was on, top of the moon.
Tariq, it's really extraordinary if you think of a kid who got to the United States at 11 with nothing. Your mother saying, my life starts now. And now here we are, and you're responsible for hiring more than 10,000 Americans.
I think that's the ultimate give back, right? If you want to give back, where I was given a job at a flower shop and I was given a job at McDonald's that changed my life. And I like to think that we're doing the same thing for others and we're passing it on, right? And nothing is more powerful and which immigrants do, is because most immigrants that I know and many people will agree with me, the first thing they want to do is own a business. They want to get into business because they hear from other immigrants that, hey, they started a business, look what people have done. And this story goes all over the world. So for us to be able to do that, to create 10,000 jobs, I mean, that's magic. And that's magical. That's our ultimate give back.
Tariq, what does the American dream mean to you?
I think for me, it's passing it on, because I think as I came here, other immigrants passed it on to me and kind of inspired me, to hand it off to the next generation better than I found it, and to be thankful for what was given to me, to be thankful, be respectful, and to honor that and leave it a little better for the next generation.
What's the message that you are trying to instill in your children?
It's the same message that my grandfather instilled in my mother, and my mother instilled in me, and my father instilled in me, to say, never forget where you come from. Because when you see the difficulties they went through, and we'll go back to Pakistan, we left that country and we've been very, very blessed in what we were able to create in America. I just want them to feel and know how amazing an opportunity they have and how blessed they are. But that blessing requires effort, a lot of effort on their part to make it better, to sustain it, to give back. So I think, that instilling of look where we come from.
Tariq, thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you.
It's an honor, Jose. Thank you very much. Thank you for everything that you do.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.